Adrienne Esposito is the executive director of an organization called the Citizens Campaign for the Environment. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
What is this organization, and why did you get involved in starting it 29 years ago?
Well, the organization is a bi-state organization throughout New York and Connecticut. We have 5 offices in New York and 1 in Connecticut. We work on a wide variety of environmental and public health protection issues. Everything from protecting your drinking water, your air, the land, our beaches and our bays and our oceans. Why did we start it? We were very young and very enthusiastic, and we actually started on Long Island thinking that we wanted to work to protect drinking water or groundwater in the case of Long Island. And then from there, we realized we really needed to do it on a larger scale in order to
Is that you guys?
and affect the change. That's one group shot of us, yes. That's us.
So it was a group of people from Long Island who said, hey, we need to do this?
As
opposed to just saying government officials, you do it?
That's right. What we found throughout the years, Steve, is that, government, unfortunately, isn't waking up in the morning saying, today's the day I'm going to protect the environment.
Let's have the DEP, the EPA do it. They'll do it.
Yeah.
Didn't work that way?
Well, they do it when you light a little
nudged.
fire. Yes, a little nudge, sometimes a big nudge, sometimes a big boost. People need to engage in the political process, and that's really how democracy works best. It's still the old adage, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So when we focus government on an issue, then they put energy and time and resources into solving it.
Give us a concrete example, because actually we were in a conversation with Rich Henning, folks over at United in Water, and we were talking about who's out there doing really good stuff, and they mentioned your organization. I was like, okay, so what have they done? What have you done? It's
a fair question. We've actually done a lot. Throughout New York State, actually, we've been behind many of the movements to preserve land. We've been behind many of the movements to advance renewable energy, such as solar and wind and geothermal.
Are you into the fracking thing?
Yes, we're opposed to it.
Yeah, explain the fracking thing for people who are like, I hear it, I don't understand it. Why should I care?
Right.
What is it and why should they care?
What the heck is this new word fracking?
Yeah.
We get that a lot. Fracking, what it is that it is a newer technology that uses high volumes of water, pushes them with great force several miles underneath the earth, and breaks apart shale. The breaking apart of that shale allows natural gas to be...
Shale is?
Shale. Shale is it's a rock formation. And it captures natural gas. And that natural gas comes back up to the surface and they distribute it. Unfortunately, in that process, there's a lot of environmental damage that's done. And we don't believe that
Like what?
Well, we don't believe we should have to choose between energy and clean water. And like what is that? There's drinking water contamination, there's air quality contamination, there's some radioactivity that occurs and mixes with the water and the wastewater. There's a lot. And so what we want to do is we want to find ways that we can do energy extraction and exploration and production without polluting and contaminating the world in which we live.
What's the policy in New York State?
The policy in New York State right now is pending, as we like to say.
Oh, I like that. So the policy on fracking is pending.
That's exactly right. It's still in the permitting stages. The state is doing a health assessment. And they are still looking at that for the last year. It's highly controversial in New York State. Literally, from Montauk, Long Island to Medina in upstate New York, people have been protesting and working against this from coming to New York.
And the Citizens Campaign's position and role in this?
Our role is that we've organized and educated the public, so the public is engaged and educated and part of the process. Our position is that hydrofracking is not safe. It is not a way that we should be re-addicting ourselves to fossil fuels, and we're rejecting it.
It's interesting. Our sister program, Capital Report, looks at New Jersey issues. And public television obviously looks at New York-based and public policy issues as well. But one-on-one also has a personal component to it, meaning we look at who the person is. Who the heck are you, and why do you continue 29 years? Seriously, why do you still have this passion 29 years later?
I've been asked that. People are like, why are you an environmentalist? And for me, it's like
29 years later, why are you still doing it?
Well, it's like saying to you, why do you have brown eyes? Why am I 5'2.5"?
Is it that natural?
I feel like it is.
You were born to do this?
I don't know. I grew up with a fishing pole in one hand and a crab trap in the other, and 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the land. And I think that when you grow up in a way where you are connected to the natural world, that you have a natural affinity to know it is your responsibility and part of your being to really save it, to protect it, because you need to give voice to something that doesn't have a voice, and that is our natural world. And we are connected, right? We rely on it for our health, we rely on it for our habitat and to live, and we need it more than we think sometimes.
You believe, and by the way, people can log on to your website to find out more and how they can get involved if they choose to, but most importantly, get informed about these issues. You don't believe that people sitting back and expecting, quote unquote, government or politicians who serve in government to do the right thing. You do not think that that is the role of citizenship.
I tell you what I've learned in almost 3 decades, which I hate to admit, of doing grassroots work, and that is that the public's not apathetic. People think the public is apathetic, but that's wrong. The public feels disempowered, and that causes them to be disengaged. But the public cares very deeply about the world around them and the future for their children and the future of the quality of their life.
How do they express it if they're not voting as regularly as they should, if they're not going out to meetings of government officials who get together to discuss things? How would you know that if we don't see it that often?
But we see it more now. And that's the role of grassroots groups. Let's look at hydrofracking.
A couple minutes left, go ahead.
Hydrofracking, thousands of people have come out to public hearings, rallies in Albany or spread out throughout the New York State. Thousands of people from all walks of life.
And that makes how much difference?
It has made a big difference. For 4 years, the state has not permitted hydrofracking like they were set to do just 4 short years ago.
You're saying because of that public outcry,
Exactly.
because of that public involvement and engagement, government officials are possibly not doing what they otherwise would have done?
That's right. They've changed their mind because they were listening to the public. They've said we cannot just reflect a corporate interest. We must reflect the public interest in our decision-making process. If the public explains their interest and voices their interest, that's when the government has to pay attention. Silence isn't golden. Silence is dangerous.
Folks, let's make sure in another program we have some folks who believe fracking is the right thing. We'll give them an opportunity to share their view as well. And then
I think there are 2 of them out there.
Well, the 2 of them out there. Listen, you got a good sense of humor about it too. Adrienne Esposito, Executive Director of the Citizens Campaign for the Environment. I want to thank you for joining us. I will tell you this. For doing this for, I know you don't like saying almost 3 decades.
I don't care.
Clearly you have a lot of passion, probably more than when you even started this. And
That's
we
true.
give you, on behalf of everyone in public television, we give you a lot of credit for being involved in the process and making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff.